Hello everyone, my name is Tiffany and I'll be showing you 4 different methods to make t-shirts to celebrate May the 4th. In this first method, I'll be showing you how to make a t-shirt design using bleach. So for this method, you'll need a black or dark colored t-shirt. Any old t-shirt will do. Make sure you iron it a bit before you start. You'll need a piece of cardboard cut out to be roughly the size of your t-shirt. You'll want the design that you want on your t-shirt printed out on printer paper, or you can even draw it if you want, just on regular paper. You'll need some freezer paper, and with that freezer paper, you'll need to cut out a piece to be roughly the size of your design. And freezer paper actually has 2 sides. One is matte and the other is shiny. And then when you're drawing your design onto the freezer paper, you'll want the shiny side down. That's really important. You'll need a measuring cup, and this is optional, but I have a funnel here. You'll need some bleach. You'll need a spray bottle. And then finally, you'll just need an iron. And you want to make sure that there's no water inside the reservoir of the iron. Next, you want to trace your design onto the freezer paper. And as I said before, make sure the shiny side is down when you trace your design. Alright, so now we're going to make the solution that we're going to use to spray on our t-shirt. So I'm going to be mixing 2 parts water with 1 part bleach. I have a 1 cup measuring cup that I'm going to measure out 2 cups to pour into my spray bottle. Now I'm doing 2 parts water, 1 part bleach because I have concentrated bleach. If you do not have concentrated bleach, then you can do 1 part water, 1 part bleach. Just keep in mind, the less you dilute the bleach with water, the stronger the spray will be. So word of caution, when you're working with chlorine bleach, you need to make sure you're very careful. If you're a kid watching this video, have an adult do this part instead. You need to make sure you don't get any bleach on your skin or your eyes, and make sure you don't ingest it. Chlorine is a corrosive, so it can damage human tissue by causing burns or irritation. Also, you want to make sure that you do not mix chlorine bleach with any other chemicals, because it can create a toxic gas, and that can seriously harm you if you breathe it in. So make sure the measuring cup and the spray bottle you use are clean and dry before you begin mixing the solution. If you don't have any bleach or you're not comfortable using it, don't worry. The other methods I will show you do not require any bleach. Alright, so here I have my stencil that I cut out of the freezer paper. And then I also have the piece of cardboard that I tucked inside the shirt. And what this is going to do is just protect the back part of the shirt from getting ruined by the bleach solution. Right now I'm just positioning the stencil to where I want it on the shirt. You want to take your time with this, because once you start to iron it, the stencil will be pretty stuck on there, so it's going to be hard to move. Once you have your stencil to where you want it, you're going to take your iron, put it on a low setting, and then again, make sure there's no water in the reservoir of the iron, or don't use your steam setting. Once your iron has warmed up, you can go ahead and start ironing the stencil onto your shirt. You don't have to use much pressure at all. The iron's going to do much of the work. Just make sure you iron over all parts of your stencil. And in no time at all, your stencil will be pretty securely stuck on your shirt. Once you're done ironing, you just want to make sure that there aren't any parts of your stencil that's sticking up, so just run your fingernail through it. If you find any parts that are sticking up, just iron it again. And then you are ready to spray your bleach solution. You're just going to give the bottle a good shake, hold it over the design, and just spray it a few times. You don't have to go crazy, just a fine mist will do. Now you're going to wait for the bleach to start removing the color from your shirt. It's going to take a few seconds. You can see it's already starting to happen here. After you've waited a little bit, the parts around the stencil where you sprayed the bleach should be pretty vibrant. So go ahead and take a paper towel just to remove the excess bleach from the stencil. If you feel like it's still too dark, go ahead and spray some more bleach and just wait a few more seconds. Once you're done removing the excess bleach from the stencil, go ahead and just peel off the stencil from your t-shirt. It should come off with no trouble at all, and once you're done removing it, you should have a nice, clean design underneath. I also want to show you the same method using a bit more of an intricate design for the stencil in case you want to do the same. I just want to show you it can be done. So same exact thing as before, you're going to iron on the stencil, and then once it's stuck on there securely, you're going to spray lightly with the bleach solution. Wait a few seconds, and this spot I feel like needs more bleach, so I'm going to spray some more there. Wait a few more seconds, and I want it a little bit stronger, so I'm going to spray a little bit more bleach solution here. After waiting a few more seconds, it is as vibrant as I wanted. I wiped off the excess bleach with a paper towel, and now I am going to carefully peel off the stencil. Now, as you can see, I have a nice clean image on my t-shirt, so this can be done with a more complicated design. Now I'm going to show you how to do the same design with sprayable fabric paint. Okay, so you're going to cut your stencil out of the freezer paper, just like I did here, and you can use a white or light colored t-shirt for this method. You'll need the cardboard to stick inside the t-shirt to keep the paint from bleeding through, and you'll need your iron as well. I'm going to be using sprayable fabric paint, but if you don't have that, just mix some acrylic paint and water in a spray bottle and use that, but just keep in mind it won't be as permanent as fabric paint. Same idea as the first method. Iron on your stencil. Once it's on there, go ahead and spray the fabric paint nice and evenly over the stencil. And then you're going to wait a few minutes for it to dry. So after a few minutes, your paint is probably dry. Go ahead and just check. It's a good idea to take a paper towel and just wipe off any excess paint you see, just like I showed you in the first method. And once you do that, just go ahead and carefully peel off your stencil. And by the way, if you don't have freezer paper to make your stencil, don't go out and buy some. You can still do this craft without freezer paper. In the next method, I'll show you what you can use instead. Alright, I'm not going to have you watch me struggle to peel that off, so here's the finished product. You can see some paint was still wet, so some excess dripped on the design itself. Up top here, and also a little bit at the bottom there. But the rest of the design turned out fine. It's nice, clean, and crisp at the edges. It still looks like Darth Vader floating around in a hot pink galaxy, so I'm not going to worry about it. In this third method, I'm going to show you how to make your own fabric paint and what to do if you don't have any freezer paper. Okay, so first of all, if you do not have freezer paper, you can use parchment paper or wax paper like I have here. On parchment or wax paper, it does not matter which side you draw your stencil on because both sides are the same. Now, if you do not have fabric paint, I'm going to show you how you can actually make your own. So first of all, you'll need some glue. You'll need some shaving cream. Make sure it's the foamy kind. You need acrylic paint in the color of your choice. Just please make sure it's acrylic paint and not oil paint. You'll need some kind of container to mix this all in, as well as a mixing utensil like a plastic spoon. I also have a 4-ounce container here I'm going to use to measure the shaving cream, just to show you about how much I use. Here you're also going to need a glue stick. If you don't have freezer paper, you're actually going to use this to glue the wax paper or parchment paper stencil onto the fabric of the shirt. Glue sticks are washable, so if you have any residue, just wash it off with some soap and warm water. And you'll also need a brush for this method. You can use a foam brush or a regular brush. Now let's make the fabric paint. So here I'm measuring out about 4 ounces of shaving cream. You don't have to be exact. You can eyeball it if you want to. And just pour it into the mixing container. Next is the glue. I'm not really measuring this, but I would say this is about a tablespoon. Just go ahead and pour it in with the shaving cream. Then your acrylic paint, just use a little bit. Now all you have to do is just mix the 3 ingredients together in that container. Just make sure everything is well combined and the color is distributed pretty evenly throughout the mixture. You'll also see the texture kind of change. It'll become kind of like this puffy, almost like the stringy texture. but it's still pretty workable, and you can easily just use a regular brush or a foam brush to paint this onto the fabric. So I cut out my stencil from the wax paper. I cut it out a different way because I think this method looks a little bit better if you paint the shape instead of around it. Now I'm going to use the glue stick to glue the stencil onto the fabric, making sure I get as close to the edge as possible. Now here comes the fun part. Just take your foam brush or your regular brush and dip it into the paint, and then you can start painting inside your stencil. Now you probably noticed the purplish stains that are under the stencil design. That's actually the glue stick, and that is underneath the wax paper. The glue will dry clear, so don't worry about that. But if for some reason you still have some residue left over, like I said, it's washable, so just use some soap and warm water to wash it off. Once you've covered your entire design with paint, you can go ahead and peel off the stencil. As you can see, I'm having a little bit of trouble taking the stencil off because the glue worked a little too well. Don't worry though, it will come off. Once you get your stencil off, you should be left with a nice clean design. Now you just want to wait a few minutes for it to dry, and once it does, you can iron it if you want to. That's just going to make the paint a little bit more permanent so you can actually wash it. In this last method, I'm going to show you how you can get an image on a t-shirt using plastic wrap and an iron. While we wait for this design to dry, I'm going to add something underneath it. So for this craft, you're going to need your image that you want on your t-shirt printed out on regular printer paper. You're also going to need a piece of parchment or a piece of fabric that's big enough to cover the paper that your picture is printed out on. You'll also need some plastic wrap that's about double the size of your picture. Last but not least, you'll need a clothes iron, and you want to make sure there's no water inside the iron. You're going to wrap the picture that you printed out completely in plastic wrap. Make sure you cover both sides. Lay it on where you want on the t-shirt, then cover it with parchment paper or plastic wrap. Now you're going to take your iron. Again, make sure it is a dry iron. And once it's warm enough, start ironing the image through the parchment paper. Start off with a low setting and then gradually go higher. The iron is going to melt the plastic onto the t-shirt. Now this is going to take a while, so be very patient. It took me about 20 minutes to get the image completely on the t-shirt. But once it's on there, it's pretty sturdy. You still can peel this off though, so I wouldn't wash it or anything like that. The benefit is, if you kind of want like a temporary design on your shirt, this method is perfect because then you can just peel off the picture and reuse the shirt. However, we are using an iron, so any kids watching this, get an adult to do this for you. There you have it, the 4 ways you can use to create a t-shirt to celebrate May the 4th. Hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to share what you made with us by using #LibraryMay4th. Bye!